I'm in with Brooke. Okay, ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Naramake's School Reopening Forum. This is our, I hope everybody can hear me. This is our first time doing this as a webinar. So I'm hoping if there's anybody in there that can shoot me a chat that you can hear us so that we know that this is actually working. I'm just going to wait. Okay, great. Thank you, Jen Steiner, for letting us know. All right, great. I appreciate that. Okay, so the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide you with information that's going to let you know how your child's day is going to change this year, as everything else has that we know pretty much since the spring. I want you to feel assured that our school team, Ms. Roman, Ms. Miles, Mr. JJ, our teachers, everybody here has been working really hard, and we're working in collaboration with our central office administrators to make sure that your children are given priority, that health and safety is our priority, and we're making sure that we have everything in place to make that happen. I also just want to briefly address the annex, the plan for the Naramake 4th and 5th graders annexed at Jefferson. The specifics of that will be addressed tomorrow at this time. So that's all I can say. Specifics of that will be addressed at a later time. So there will be another town hall tomorrow specific to that, or you will get communication from me prior to that, should things be changing. Okay, so the information presented tonight is specific to K3, but so just keep that in mind. If you were a 4th or 5th grade parent here listening, if things change, just insert that 4th and 5th grader here, if that makes sense to everybody. So yes, these are all being recorded, Jessica Frey. All of these town halls are being recorded, and they will be uploaded to the Norwalk Public School YouTube site following all of the town hall meetings. And I also, in the presentation you're about to see, I'm having the slides translated to Spanish, and I will send out the deck to all of our families. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen to go over to, you can see our presentation. So, oh, hold on a minute. I'm sorry, I have to get up my, I have to get the PowerPoint here. Sorry, I'm on a different computer. Oh boy, I took a phone call just before this, and
to answer a question.
Yes, that's a great time to answer the question. So
yeah. Let me see.
Sorry about this, everybody.
Take off your video for that. Take off your video.
Okay. Are there any questions there to be answered?
Great.
Okay. Nope. Oh, ladies.
You need help?
Yeah, because hold on. I'm not sure why I'm not getting it. Okay, here we go. Back to Zoom. And now I can share my screen. There it is. Okay.
Okay, let's see that chat.
And I will present.
Now where's my chat?
I need to present. So just so everybody knows, why is my thing not presenting? Here we are. There we are. Okay, good. All right, everybody.
Wait.
So can we see the screen? Okay. Everybody can see the presentation. I want to thank Ms. Roman and Ms. Miles for their help with this. Okay, so as I said, the purpose of tonight is to just give you the information on how everything's going to look different for your kids this year. And here we go. Some of this information you may have seen already if you've been at other presentations and or the superintendent's town hall. But before we start with our specific information, there are some district updates that, as effective today, the decision has been made and has been approved that all elementary schools will dismiss 15 minutes earlier than the published time for the 2021 school year. So Naramake hours are 7:45 a.m. and to 2:20 p.m. That's district-wide, 15 minutes earlier. That's going to give us time so that the accrued time, the accumulated time on Mondays are going to be added to our faculty's staff meeting time so that we can provide any kind of training we need in this ever-changing landscape. So it gives us additional faculty meeting time to provide staff members to give us the best instruction for your children throughout the school year. There's also an update about physicals. Many students are not current with their medical physicals because of the shutdown and their ability to access doctors' offices. So the state has given clear guidance that students will not be allowed to enter school either remotely or in person. We're not going to allow you to be educated until the forms have been approved and on file with Nog Public Schools. So if you need any information on that, please call the schools, but you should also just make sure you try to make an appointment with your physicians or any physicians that you work with. Miss O'Brien is not working in the summer right now, but if you email her, she will check emails periodically. Okay, so this is a slide I think you've seen if you've been to other town halls, but this would be a day in the life of Malik specific to Naramake. And you can see we start over here, number 1, Malik will travel to school 7:25 to approximately 7:45. This is if he's on the bus. Malik arrives at school for breakfast, 7:45. And then we shift down here where he will sit in his homeroom at 8 a.m. And then from 8 to 11:30, this is approximate. Final schedules haven't been made for each grade level, but he has morning classes from 8 to 11:30. Somewhere in there will be specials, and this isn't specific to all of that. It's just a general, those will be classes. And then Malik will eat lunch, 11:30 a.m. to 11:50. There'll be a 20-minute lunch period that would be in the classroom with the child's teacher, or if they're in the room, the overflow room, which we'll get into in a few minutes, then they will be with the paraprofessional, and those two roles, the teacher and the para, would be able to be interchangeable since one grade level would be the cohort. One classroom, sorry. One teacher class is a cohort. So some days the teacher may be there, some days the para, but the two rooms will be split for that purpose. Number 6, Malik has recess, 11:50 to 12:20. Normally we have a 20-minute recess and a 20-minute lunch. We will be extending our recess by 10 minutes for a couple of reasons. One, that allows the teacher to have their lunch with their 30-minute contractual lunch duty free, so they'll be outside with their recess monitors and other school staff. We recognize we need to put other people out there, so we've requested additional support for that. And then also the kids, as being in masks and in a whole different learning environment, we think that they need a little more extra time outside to run around and get that movement out and have a little mask break. So that'll be the plan for recess, a half hour for that. In the afternoon, in this particular grade level example, 12:20 to 2:20. Oh, I have to adjust. Yeah, 12:20 to 2:20. That's our new dismissal time. then that will be Malik's afternoon classes. And then Malik goes home at 2:20, or he stays for aftercare, which begins at 2:20 and ends at 6 p.m. So that's a general look about what the day will look like for your third grade student, but pretty much in elementary school, they're all the same. We're not like middle and high school where everybody's got a different schedule. So health and safety protocols. So in order to safeguard the safeguards to prevent the spread of COVID, you know, we're going to have passive screenings in place. This includes a staff member who will be collecting and reviewing the parent-reported screening that before they bring it to school each day. As the child enters, we will have adults at each entry point to collect and review them. All staff will complete the. Additionally, staff will also complete the screener at home prior to arriving at the school. So students and staff will all complete a health screener before arriving. Mask will be required for all staff and students unless a mask exemption has been granted. And in the case of student exemptions, we have ordered some full enclosed plexiglass partitions for students to sit behind that if they have a mask exemption for health reasons. And any staff that has requested one, their requests are being reviewed by the HR department, and they will be granted as they see fit. If that does happen, we will, if anybody is exempt from a mask, then we'll wait for word from HR about what kind of accommodations are in place for that student, for that teacher or staff member. So additional masks will be made available at the buses and school entrances. We'll have them here for anybody that forgets or they break sometimes. That happened in summer school. We will have frequent hand washing routines in place. Social distancing will be maintained in classrooms and during times of transitions, and material sharing is prohibited. I should say that we will, if we're not able to answer the questions now through the chat, we will be addressing at the end of this session. We'll read your questions and answer them. Some people have emailed me questions ahead of time, and I tried to embed the answers into this presentation, so they may not be directly answered afterwards. If students and staff are sick, students or staff are directed to stay home if they're feeling sick or has recently had close contact with a person that has been diagnosed with COVID-19. They stay home for 14 days. Students that have been exposed to someone that has tested positive can return to school 14 days after exposure based on the time it takes to develop illness. Staff and students should stay home if they have tested positive or are showing COVID-19 symptoms, and they stay home for 10 days. Staff and students who have recently had close contact with a person should also stay home and monitor their health for 14 days. And anybody that has tested positive can return to school when he or she has remained in quarantine for 10 days, or he or she continues to have no fever for 24 hours, and presenting a doctor's note. Our classrooms. So our classrooms have been carefully planned. We've been very, very busy trying to work and rework numbers to create primary cohorts, which are the individual classes. So the child, if your child is assigned to, I'm going to use Mrs. Dagnall's kindergarten as an example, then that becomes the primary cohort, where the secondary cohort is the entire grade level. So in order, that will limit staff and student interactions, and that also allows they'll mostly be with their primary cohort throughout the day, but they can go outside for recess with their grade level cohort, and which is the secondary cohort. And also the after school program will be based on these secondary or grade level cohorts. When classrooms cannot accommodate the required 6 feet to socially distance, we had some grade levels where we just couldn't fit the number of children in the class, or the number of kids in the class. We had to divide the class into 2 groups. And in these cases, the teacher will provide remote instruction on a rotating basis to the students in the nearby room. And they'll be monitored and supported by another adult staff member. So we'll see that a little bit later also. Facilities, in order to facilitate our, enforce our hand washing routines, we've ordered portable hand washing stations that will be placed in or near the classrooms that do not have a sink. So we have several classrooms in our upper grade wing that don't have sinks, so they'll be placed strategically in areas where a couple of classes can access that sink, as well as the bathrooms. Every single classroom in our primary wings have their own sink, and then there's a few in the upper grade that have a sink, but most do not. Floor decals will be placed 6 feet apart on the floor to indicate traffic flow and also to provide visuals for social distancing while standing or waiting in line. So we have these arrows that are going to be indicating which direction the students should be walking, so they stay on one side of the hall. And they'll be 6 feet apart, so teachers can just say stand on an arrow if they have to stop, or if they're waiting in line for the bathroom out in the the upper grades where we have the gang style bathrooms, they'll have a place to wait while they're waiting to get in. Social distancing signage will be posted throughout the school. And initially we weren't allowed to use the water fountains at all, but the new information is that students will be able to refill their own water bottles from our filtered water station, which is just outside the gym. But the actual mouthpiece will be turned off on that system, and all the other water fountains will be not accessible. So students are encouraged to bring water bottles from home. We'll provide little cups for kids who don't have a water bottle who want to go to the water filling station, but they will not be able to use the mouthpiece. So please send water bottles if you can. Okay, so the arrival. So we have, in order to maintain the health and safety, we're following a staggered arrival plan, which is the recommendation of the CDC and the state of Connecticut Health and Reopen Plan. So keep in mind that everything that you're hearing today is subject to change. I know you've heard that in Dr. Estrella's town hall meetings as well, but this is a very, very, very changing, fluid situation that we're in, as you all know. So as of right now, this is the plan, that our bus students are arriving at 7:45 a.m. and our bus students are dictated by the bus schedule, the mastered bus schedule, which pretty much everything revolves around that. So our bus students right now are scheduled to be here at 7:45, so they are getting here first. And then our buses leave to go to another school. So kindergartens and their siblings are going to arrive at 7:55, and every other student in grades 1 and up, or without siblings for kindergarten, will be 8:05 a.m. As you know, if you've been here for any number of years, our sidewalk is very narrow, and the passage the area doesn't allow for much space between families or people as they're leaving, and we can't have any congregating on the grounds. So we want the bus students dismiss right on the main sidewalk entering the school. So the bus students will leave, and then the kindergartens and their siblings will come. Kindergarten families are going to be asked to go directly to the outside classroom door of their kindergarten classroom. More direction and information will be given to kindergarten families about where that you can actually go. I know many of you are new to the building, so we'll have a Zoom introduction orientation for you to know exactly where to go. But so once the bus students are gone, the sidewalk will be cleared for kindergarten students to come and enter the building through their classroom door, where siblings will wait at their assigned entrance in the other grades, which we'll talk about at another time. So at this point, it's not specific in this plan, but in this point, we'll have students in like P wing and A wing enter through the bus doors. Students in the B wing and our library will enter through the main entrance, and the C wing students will enter in the C wing area. So that's the plan as of now, but when that becomes official, I will send that information out. But these times, and we do ask that everybody please, follow these staggered entry times. We also will say that the only people that can park their car and walk families are kindergarten and pre-K students. The parents that are dropping off children by car, or you must stay in your car and use our circular drop-off system. If you've been here for any years, you're very familiar with that. You use either the main circle in front of the school or in the parking lot where there's the alternate drop off, which is also a a moving lane, not a parking lane. So we're not allowing, and no schools are not allowing this, for parents to get park and walk their children to the school other than kindergarten. And we'll go back to kindergarten for a second. You must also leave campus immediately after your child enters the building. We're not allowed to have any congregating on campus. So we just need to have this social distancing in and outside the building. Okay, dismissal. We also have a staggered dismissal. You just heard that the whole school is dismissing at 2:20. That information came in late this afternoon, and initially I had intended the kindergartens to get out at 2:20 to have a 15-minute early dismissal so that parents can get to their classroom doors and pick them up. But and it'll just be walkers and riders that would be dismissed at that time. Bus students would remain with their class teacher until the bus gets here. So at this time, the plan is for 2:05, again, subject to change. But this time, kindergarten may be getting out at 2:05 in order to leave room for everybody to clear out. In-school dining, students will eat breakfast and lunch in their classrooms. We'll enforce hand washing before and after eating. The kitchen has had, we have pre-packaged meals. In the summer, they had some really nice meals coming in. They were really nice looking. And so they still have a choice, but they'll be prepackaged, and the students will pick them up from carts positioned in each wing. So they won't go to the cafeteria or the kitchen line to get their food. We'll have our 3 cafeteria ladies, or men if we have any change, but right now it's ladies, standing in each wing, spread out according to their lunch shift to let the kids come out to the hall and get their lunch and go back to class. Of course, if they're bringing their lunch, they just have their lunch in the classroom with them. Teachers and adult staff will monitor student lunch in their classrooms and facilitate friendly discussions among their peers so they can have some socialization in their class with their teachers. And then, as mentioned earlier, the students will go outside with the playground monitors and other staff here at Naramake, and the teachers will have their lunch at that time. For recess, our playgrounds have been, off limits. They won't be permitted for the playscape, the actual playscape. That's Norwalk Parks and Rec. And following all the guidelines from public health departments, they were not allowed because they are not able, we cannot properly sanitize them in between each class that's outside. So each grade will have a designated recess time, just like now. They will have a designated play space on the large field, the softball field off to the side of the building that we usually have the back to school barbecue on, and the 5th grade always had recess on. So we will, each class will have a designated space, and play will be monitored and directed in some cases with by the playground monitors. We will follow Connecticut's health and safety guidelines for handling sports equipment. If we have balls or anything outside, we're going to have a couple sets of them so that when one set, after class goes in, we can have somebody, sterilizing or sanitizing, I should say, any equipment that might be out there, a few balls, and we won't have a whole lot, but let them play with something for sure. And at that time, we have 2 scenarios. If the guidelines so far are, if they are outside and we want the children to take off their mask, we have to maintain 6 feet. And if we want them to play any kind of games where they have to come closer than 6 feet, they have to keep their mask on. So those are the 2 guidelines that have been presented so far at this time. Okay, here we are to instruction. We have in-person instruction. Students, their desks and tables are distanced 6 feet apart. Tables will be equipped if there are classrooms that have tables. We've got tables in the kindergartens right now. We wanted the classrooms to look like kindergarten as much as we can. There are only 2 students allowed at one of those kindergarten tables, and then they will be divided by plexiglass dividers. And the tables themselves are 6 feet apart. So that's where we're at with kindergarten. Other classes, if they have a desk, they will be 6 feet apart. As we said before, some classes will be split into 2 groups, and they'll be supported by a teacher para on a rotating basis. Specials and other services will be provided on push-in basis or outside if the weather permits. So we do have some tables outside, on the back playground. We can set up some additional tables. Outside is preferable, and if we can make that work, we will have services outside for specials and other services for students. And then if any parent is, you may elect to re-enroll if you have selected in-person instruction and you decided that you want to go remote. That can happen almost overnight, where that's not always the same case the other way, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay. And I should say that in the classroom, in the where the teacher is not teaching in classes that have been split into 2, the instruction will be streamed live, and kids will follow along either on the smart board or on individual devices in front of them, and the students at home would be getting that same instruction, and then we would alternate that the next day. So the students in class B won't always be getting remote. They will have equal time with the teacher and the para. And distance learning. Students enrolled in distance learning will remotely access the instruction and assignments from home. They'll be expected to sign in to class at the beginning of the school day and follow the class schedule for the day. Computers, materials, and supplies will be provided for students at home. We'll schedule a deployment day for supplies. I know that was a question earlier. And parents may elect to re-enroll into face-to-face. If they've decided distance learning, they can decide to come in person with a 2-week transition period, which allows for buses to get underway and any other preparation we need to do to make that shift to in-person learning.
And another question that came up, Ms. Wilkins, is that can a student, if they're not feeling well, can they do remote learning that day?
You know what, that's a great question, but I don't see why not. We can get further I have not gotten clarification as a district level, but I don't see why that can't happen.
And would they be marked absent? I just know from like summer school that they could do that and then they would not.
Right. So yeah, it makes sense because yes, exactly. So the other piece I didn't mention earlier was if somebody is sick, we do have an isolation room or a waiting room. All schools were required to come up with a space that has its own bathroom. We have, they'll be monitored by another adult where the children will wait to be picked up from their families. And that will be for any children experiencing any signs of illness, because we're not diagnosing COVID or not. So if somebody is showing any signs of being ill, they will go to the isolation room or the waiting room while they're waiting to be picked up. And the cuts and the bruises and any kind of injuries will be handled by the nurse, and that's where students will go for that. But anything else will be brought to the monitoring room to be picked up from home. Let's see. All right, so we have a Q&A period. I don't know if there's anything in the chat that came through that we didn't answer yet. Ms. Roman, I know you just answered a couple, but we'll take those now. And then after this presentation, if you have questions, you certainly can email me. My email is here, wilkinsj@norwalkps.org. If they're health related, please email I would copy myself when you do this because the school nurse is not technically working right now, but she does check her emails periodically, but she is o'brien@norwalkps.org. And of course, Ms. Miles, Ms. Roman can answer questions, and Ms. Miles is the registration queen. So anything to do with registration, she's the go-to girl for that. Okay, so are there any questions there in the chat that I'm going to stop sharing right now and see.
Yeah. One question was how the students, if they take off their mask, should they have a bag to put them in, and where are they kept?
Yes. We will have Ziploc baggies that we've already purchased, and they're here. Each student will have one. We have replacement baggies if they get soiled or lost or broken, but they will be kept with them. They will be kept with them when they go outside. They'll put them on. They'll keep it on their desk. They're pretty much self-contained units. All of their belongings from home will be at their chair. They're in their little designated space. We won't use the cubby system. Folders back and forth from home will stay with the child. They won't be turned into the teacher to take the materials out. The students will be required to take any materials out that they need to from home if they need to hand it into the teacher.
Who will wait with the students?
Who will wait with the students in the isolation room?
The district plan is to have health monitor, paraprofessionals, health assistants in the rooms as we did this summer.
If a sibling is quarantined due to exposure of COVID, does the other sibling have to quarantine as well?
If a sibling is, so I'm going to go back to the guidance that we had just a moment ago where I'm going to go back to that if you don't mind. So are you asking about siblings?
So if a sibling was exposed and they're
Students or
quarantining,
staff should stay home if he or she is feeling sick or has recently had close contact with a person with COVID. So if they've been diagnosed with COVID, yes. If they're just sick, that has not been a direction.
the list of school supplies will be distributed soon. Will it? Yes.
Yes, and we will have supplies here for everybody. Will have their own individual supplies. And we're asking, if we have to close down, so students will be asked to bring back and forth. Everybody will have a Chromebook. They'll be asked to bring that back and forth to school. They'll also be asked to bring some other, just your art supplies. And there's a bag of math manipulatives that has been ordered for each child, and they're pretty pricey, so we couldn't get 2 sets. But they're asked to bring that back and forth. Should we have to switch to a remote in a situation where we have to do it overnight and we don't lose any learning time? If anybody is following the news this summer, there was a case at Naramake where they had to overnight switch to remote learning. So when their materials are home, it's easy to do that.
Will all grade levels be split between 2 rooms? When will we know more specifics about this so that we can discuss this with our child?
We have the district in a meeting today. We will be sending out class lists early next week. And that's when that information will come out. Not all grade levels were split into 2. We have some grade levels that had very lower numbers. So we were able to fit, whole class into 1 class at 6 feet apart.
Can we walk children to school?
You may walk them to school, but we can't bring them up to the doors. You'd have to say goodbye, off to the sidewalk.
Can you talk about the expectations for 4th and 5th grades and what the expectation for Jefferson Elementary School is? So
I started at the start of this. That will be addressed at the town hall tomorrow for Jefferson. So that is what that's what we're doing. We're going to just address that at a specific town hall for Jefferson students tomorrow. Students at Jefferson, Naramake students at Jefferson. And just keep in mind that this is things are changing all the time. So.
Did I miss any, Ms. Miles?
Are you in the chat or in Q&A? Because I see some in Q&A too. You're in both? Okay.
I'm in both. I'm going back and forth. Will remote students have a teacher in school who will be teaching students? So I think you went over this. They will have a homeroom classroom, and they will have, that teacher will be also providing the remote.
Correct. So should they come back to school, they will go to that classroom that the teacher that they've been learning from at home. They'll participate. The students at home will participate in morning meetings, so they'll get to they'll get to know their classmates and any other instruction.
Is there a specific form that needs to be filled out by the doctors for mass exempt?
There is, but I don't know if they have, if that has been approved and finalized yet. So we've not received information on the specific form.
Will rooms without AC be getting it?
No plan for that right now.
Will we be receiving a link to Jefferson Zoom?
Yes.
How are ESL classes run?
This week, the MPS has a lot of, this week, the MPS has a lot of classes. I'm not sure.
Online learning, I think it's, I received an email from somebody today saying that I guess the district sent out, I didn't know this, a link for parents to sign up for some training on using the platforms that they have to use at home, the apps. If you just give me 1 second, I think there's an email here from our tech person who may have the answer to that question. I didn't have it. Just give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. So for the apps for elementary school, if you're interested in signing up for those trainings, we have Symphony Math, Seesaw, Flipgrid, and then it says here about, because I wasn't sure, I know the district is changing to a Microsoft platform rather than Google, so I weren't sure if we were still using Google Classroom. But according to our IT department, students will be using Google Classroom as their learning management system. Teams will just be replacing video conferencing. So we'll be doing that instead of Zoom over the course of this year. So Google Classroom will be used to check assignments and for anything that's assigned remotely. And we will be training the kids in school to how to, the first couple of at least week of school will be dedicated towards teaching the children how to use these apps. So should we switch to distance learning at any time, everybody knows how to do this. So we'll be providing a lot of activities in those apps in the beginning weeks of school.
A question was how many students to each class? And you did go over that it depends.
It does depend. It does depend. In some cases there are 10, in some cases there are 15. It depends on the size of the grade level.
And the space to keep this. How are our ESL classes run?
So ESL it's a push-in model when we can. So the students, we have to cohort or cluster our students who are ESL. As long as we maintain our 50% ratio, and we can't go over 50% for either special education, ESL. And if in a grade level in a classroom of about say 20 children, on a grade level, if we have 10 children of ESL and we have a classroom of 20, I'll use the number 11. If we use up 11 and we have a classroom of 20, then we will not put all 11 ESL students into one class, as that would exceed the 50% guideline. So, and same with special education. So in some cases, in some classes, we have all ESL children in one class, and in others they're across two classes. And if they're in two classes, it would also be split in the between the two bubbles of the one class. And it's a push-in model. In grades where we have a lot of children, it might be a virtual model, which is also being implemented with special education and other related services.
Has the ventilation system at Naramake been inspected? Will specialists, OT, speech, etc., be working with multiple cohorts on the same day?
So I'll answer the first question about ventilation. It's scheduled to be tested next week, I've been told by our facilities department, turned on and tested. And as far as OT and, I'm sorry, can you read that again? Related services, Ms. Roman?
Yeah, will specialists, OT, speech, etc., be working with multiple cohorts on the same day?
The special education department has advised that special education can work in 2 grade levels. So it would be 2 grade levels they can work with. So we have 2.5 special ed resource teachers, and our third one is actually here full time. Only the other half was intended to be for interventions, but it is another special ed teacher, full time. She's here full time, and so each teacher will be dedicated to 2 grade levels. So teacher A is K1, teacher B is grade 2 and 3, and teacher 3 would be grades 4 and 5.
Can you tell us what to expect from distance learning? What will the experience be like for the student? This is like, how are they going to be connected with their class? Are they also connected during specials? Mm-hmm. That's like 4 questions.
Yes, so they will be definitely connected. All of our teachers are firmly, believe in the morning meetings to have these social emotional gatherings to develop their, the sense of community and just to check in on students. So every morning we will start with a morning meeting, just as we do in person, as we have for the last several years here. And most teachers did it during distance learning in the spring. I believe everybody did. And so they'll start with that, and students at home will be provided with the link, just as the students in person will, in the classroom where the teacher is, and the students in the room next door will also be participating via computer through that, because they're not going to be with the teacher. So they'll also be remote, but even though they're in school, and then that will flip. But so that will be very important to develop that sense of community through that, especially for, if we, for the remote students, we want them to feel like they're still belong to us, as they do. So that's for that part about, and then all activities, any classroom assignment that the students get will be given to the students at home through Google Classroom. In fact, our students here will be having their computer often because of the fact that students in in the next door room will also be virtual, so to speak. So we're very mindful, and we want to make sure all the kids at home are having the same experience as the children in person. The only the specials, they'll be depending on the model, and so they'll be in class. The special teachers will come to each grade level for 2 weeks. So if you're in kindergarten, for 2 weeks, you'll have your child will have gym every single day, and then the next 2 weeks it'll be music, and they'll just rotate through. Gym will be outside when we can, for sure, and we will. That's the only caveat, is that gym may need to be assigned differently because it's hard to do the virtual, the teacher where they are teaching the class outside in PE. But music, art, PBL, any of those would have the same instruction that the classroom teacher is given. Classroom teacher will be doing her lessons, instruction for content with a camera on her or him, and which will be streamed into the class next door as well as at home.
Next question, will there be an opportunity for remote learners to engage with peers during lunchtime?
Have not thought of that, but I don't see why not. So I don't see why not. It could operate the same way. Yeah, we haven't thought of that. That's certainly something, if Ms. Roman or Ms. Miles, you could write that down for us to consider and plan for. It's a good idea.
Will health assessments be monitored daily, and if not submitted, will the children be allowed in school, like if they're not submitted?
We've not, so we have to collect them every day. We make a phone call home if they did not, and we will go over the screener with the parent over the phone.
What math and ELA programs will we use?
There was, before the district plan was to shift to something called Schoolwide as our primary resource for language arts. That would be replacing the journeys, but if in our Quad D, student-centered environments. Teachers are using that as a primary resource, but also encouraged to use other resources that is best to fit the objective of their lessons. And for math, we are participating in a program called illustrative math. IM is the known acronym for it. And it is a program that is concept-based. Really excited. We're one of 5 or 6 schools, Ms. Roman, 5 or 6 schools that are piloting this. The district is planning to move all the way to it. We're lucky to be in, we're lucky to be in the first trial.
Beta.
It's an established program that has been highly effective in grades 6 through 12. And they have been researching, using this program, this resource in elementary schools as a test mode. But the results they've been getting in the 6 through 12 has been fantastic. And it's very concept-based, which is very aligned to our Quad D. Students will, so they're getting the concept before going to the algorithm or the, help me with the word, before they have to go to the abstract. Thank you.
Oh. And they use a lot of manipulatives for math.
Yes, yes.
Can you discuss mask breaks? Can a student request one, or does the teacher build them into the schedule?
So I'm going to go by what we did in Summer Academy, and that was we had some scheduled breaks where teachers they took the kids for a walk outside, so they're distanced at 6 feet apart, and they can remove their mask for a few minutes while they're outside, standing 6 feet apart at least. And if they are in class feeling any kind of discomfort, they can just pull it down a little bit for a minute, take a breather, and put it back up. And Ms. Roman, I know you taught a few classes this summer, so is there anything else about mask breaks that?
In the 2 schools that I was in when I covered for some teachers, they would ask for a mask break, and there was like a spot in the room where they can go and take their mask off, or and then go back, or they would go into the bathroom, take a little break, and then come back. So, and then outside. The next question was, hold on, now I lost my track. Oh, can you explain how the rotation of teacher and para will work? I think you covered that we didn't come up with 100% plan yet with the teachers, but each student will have daily interaction with the teacher.
Yes.
Will a single instance of COVID require the school to immediately go to distance learning?
I don't think that's the case. Ms. Miles, you're shaking your head. I don't know that answer. I can't answer that right off the bat. I do have some. I can't answer that right off the bat. I think it depends. I think they start with the cohort, which is why we're cohorting, so that you can say, everybody in this grade, we may be on distance learning for a period while that area is deeply cleaned. I can't say for sure what's the guidelines on closing down or not.
What will happen if a storm and power is out for students that rely on power and internet for distance learning?
We will have the same issue here because we will have children in another room that have to, access the curriculum remotely as well. So I think that would be handled on a district level in terms of whether there's a school needs to close or not for that reason.
Will students who choose distance learning have an opportunity to meet their teacher in person if they would like?
At this time, we have no visitors to the building, so there's no plan for that at the moment. We grade levels can offer Zoom meetings, but at this time, there's no plan to meet in person. I can get further direction from our district office, but I know we're following the no visitors procedure right now.
Will there be a training for parents for new technology? Should we would need to transition to distance learning?
I think that's what the parent, your question earlier was from a parent.
Right.
The district must have sent something out. The parent that asked that question, if you could post in the chat, was there an email from somebody or was it just from the website? Like, how did you find that out? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, someone just said
It was from NPS.
that. Yeah, NPS.
NPS, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
What about how will you insert quality into the landscape?
Wait, where is that?
And that's question.
Will there still be GT or NAT at Naramake and Jefferson?
Yes. The plan has not been solidified yet. We were meeting with, had a scheduled meeting with the chief of specialized learning to discuss that plan today, but several other meetings, bumped that out of the way. So we'll be meeting sometime this week to determine a plan for our Naramake students.
I have chosen in-person classes. Will and when I get login information for my child to attend virtually? Are virtual classes live or just based on daily tasks?
They'll be live and you will receive information on login from the classroom teacher each day. If you were here in the spring and you did distance learning here, teachers send out communication every day and they'll have to do that as well here this year. Children and keep in mind that we have children in the other the alternate room wherever the teacher isn't teaching that day that will also be on a distance learning mode. So there's these links have to be sent daily.
Are they still going to be picking books from the library?
There is no plan right now for library. We, as a district, have not determined the best way that we can safely allow children to share books. We have no sharing of materials. So that information has to, we have to get that from the district. We've not gotten guidance on that.
Will the teachers be accessing Google Classrooms on, I think, in the elementary level? And yes, they will. Everybody will be, students that are in and out on remote learning will be using Google Classroom.
Correct. And I also wanted to add for the library question, we do have teachers are very familiar and experienced using Mayan for reading, which has got a lot of digital books. We have teachers using Epic and we have teachers using Raz Kids, and those are all platforms where we can access texts online.
If students have their own devices, can they use their own or do they have to use a school issued device?
So the issue came up this year in distance learning. We had deployed laptops or Chromebooks to students in other grades, and initially parents would say, oh, we have our own device, we'll just use our own. And what happens is the district has certain apps that are programmed for your child. And if you're using your own device, sometimes it's harder to access those programs. So it's best and easiest for your child to use the district provided device.
What if my child has a question while doing virtual assignment during the day? Will he need to wait until the end of the day for an answer?
The plan at the moment was that the classroom teacher or the para that's assigned with that class will support on real-time questions and answers from students.
Correct. For the students that are walkers, where are parents expected to wait for their child at dismissal?
More specific information on dismissal will come out as we get closer to school. I specifically didn't give that information today because we're changing. And as I said, we just got the information that time we're, we have a 15-minute earlier dismissal than normal. So that has not fully been worked out yet, but we'll either have another meeting like this or sending it out detailed in writing or both.
For tomorrow's Zoom, will all three principals be presenting or will it just our Naramake admin team?
It'll be all three. And the plan for Jefferson is that Ms. Roman and I will rotate through that building.
We'll be there often.
Yes,
How
one of us every day.
will we insert Quad D into this landscape?
Teachers have been trying that. They've been, already dabbling with that since the spring. We've talked about that as, because in this Zoom or Microsoft Teams and those platforms, we can have these breakout rooms where children can be assigned to work with a peer, with a group of peers, but on the computer. So the collaboration will just take place and it'll look a little different. And instead of being next to each other, it could be across the room, but sharing, on a Zoom, just like you're seeing us now, but won't be Zoom.
Chromebooks will be going back and forth from school to home daily.
That is the plan.
How do you accommodate children who signed up for virtual classes and that decided to join in person?
How will we accommodate them?
Yeah.
There'll be a 2-week transition allow for busing and any other preparation, and they will come back to the classroom that they had been with in the virtual instruction. So if you're assigned to Mrs. Dagnott, I'm using her example, her name as again, if your child was assigned to her, you've been going through all your virtual instruction with her, being a part of the morning meetings with her, any kind of classroom, virtual meetings. And then when you come to school, when your child comes to school for face-to-face, they go right into Ms. Dagnott's class and they say, I'm sure many of you, I know for me, when I'm on a Zoom and I've seen people, I've seen them on a Zoom and I see them in person, it's like, oh, yay. So I think that's the experience the children will have too. It'll just be, you're finally here, we get to see you.
Can the screener be an app to reduce paper?
I know it is for for staff, I'm sorry. They're at this time, I don't know of a plan to have it be for students, but to be determined.
Are the classes reducing worksheets in the classroom and more online?
Most everything will be online especially because of the situation of having remote learners in both classroom, the alternate classroom as well as at home.
I think that's it, Miss Wilkins, unless
The bathrooms being cleaned.
Oh, where's that one? Are the bathrooms being cleaned more often during the day?
Yes, they are. They will be, all high touch surfaces will be cleaned throughout the day. The children's bathroom in the classrooms, the custodians are being trained to make sure that they cycle through the bathrooms and do high touch areas throughout the building, not just the bathrooms, but doorknobs, handles, railings. We don't have a lot of them here, fortunately. But yeah, all high touch areas will be cleaned throughout the day. And at the end of the day, they will be thoroughly sanitized with a spray cleaner, disinfectant, which is what they did in summer school. And they just, so all surfaces. We're removing everything from the classroom, so teachers won't have things piled up, in terms of papers and materials. Of course, they'll have what they need, but there won't be, years of things in the classroom out. So that would take on the germs. So we're just going to have as free surfaces as possible. So when they come in to spray, all those surfaces are disinfected at the end of the day.
Will we have access to the PowerPoint from tonight?
Yes. So we are coming to the end of this session. It expires at 6 o'clock, I believe. We are having this translated in Spanish, and I will send this out to all families, English and Spanish, so you have it. And also this meeting is being recorded, so it will be uploaded to the district YouTube site. I'm not sure when, but I will send this link to our district people, and they will upload it to the Norwalk Public Schools YouTube site.
Ask if we got any additional staff.
Oh, someone asked, do we have additional staff?
We have requested additional staff, and we're working with HR to make sure that we have the staff members that we need to fully support our program here. HEPA filters should be in this by Wednesday, they said. And they're the ones that have the UV. They are UV. I guess that's an important important detail to note. But UV HEPA filters should be arriving in the district, and each class is going to have one. They say they ordered 1,000, and they're putting one in every class. So I thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for this first ever for us. We did Zoom, but I've never done a webinar. So thanks for your patience in the beginning. And you'll be hearing from us again. We'll do this again. This was fun. It's a good way to do it. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to email. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.